They fought longer, harder, and with more courage than any other American unit in World War I, only to return home to racism and betrayal. This is the unbelievable true story of the Harlem Hellfighters, the black soldiers who became legends in France but were forgotten by their own country. Welcome to Historical Stories, where we bring history's hidden heroes back to life. Stick around to the end to discover how one soldier fought off 24 Germans single-handedly with just a knife, and how his own nation erased his bravery for nearly a century. The Harlem Hellfighters, heroes discriminated at home. The frozen trenches of northeastern France stretched endlessly before Private Henry Johnson as he adjusted his French-issued Adrian helmet. The 24-year-old railroad porter from Albany, New York, rubbed his chapped hands together, his breath forming clouds in the frigid February air. Around him, the men of the 369th Infantry Regiment, the Harlem Hellfighters, prepared for another night watch. Though they wore American uniforms beneath their French gear, the US Army had made it clear these black soldiers weren't welcome to fight alongside white troops. Instead, they'd been loaned to the French Fourth Army, given antiquated Springfield rifles, and sent to the front lines with minimal training. Johnson turned to his best friend, 17-year-old Needham Roberts, who was struggling to light a damp cigarette. "You know what I'm dreaming about right now?" Johnson asked, his voice barely audible over the distant artillery. "A hot plate of my mama's fried chicken and cornbread," Roberts chuckled before the smile faded from his face. Both men knew the statistics. The average lifespan of a frontline soldier in this sector was measured in weeks. The 369th had arrived in France in January 1918 as labourers, relegated to unloading ships and digging latrines. But when the German spring offensive threatened to break Allied lines, the desperate French army pressed them into combat service. The Hellfighters would spend the next 6 months fighting continuously, longer than any other American unit in the war. Baptism by fire, the Battle of Belleau would. On June 1st, 1918, the Hellfighters got their first real taste of combat near the village of Belleau. As German artillery pounded French positions, white American units to their left faltered and began retreating. French officers ordered the 369th to fall back as well. Captain Hamilton Fish, the regiment's white commander, refused. "These men are Americans," he told his French counterparts. "We don't run." For 72 hours, the Hellfighters held their ground against repeated assaults. Johnson later described the scene in a letter home. "The trees were nothing but splinters. The ground looked like it had been ploughed by demons. We fought in holes filled with blood and rainwater, but we didn't give an inch." The French commanders were astonished. "These Americans fight like wildcats," one was overheard saying. Another muttered, "They're Hellfighters." The name stuck. The night that made history, May 14th, 1918. At 2:30 a.m. on May 14th, Johnson and Roberts were on sentry duty near the Mont de Choisy when they heard the distinct snip of wire cutters. Before they could react, a German raiding party of at least 24 soldiers emerged from the darkness. A grenade exploded near Roberts, sending shrapnel tearing through his arm and leg. As the teenager collapsed, Johnson emptied his French Liebel rifle into the advancing Germans. When the rifle jammed, he swung it like a club, crushing the skull of the nearest attacker. A German bayonet sliced across Johnson's face, nearly taking his left eye. Another stabbed deep into his side. Bleeding profusely, Johnson grabbed his only remaining weapon, a Belleau knife issued by the French. In the brutal hand-to-hand combat that followed, he killed 4 Germans and wounded an estimated dozen more. At one point, he lifted Roberts onto his shoulders and carried him 50 yards through gunfire to relative safety. By dawn, the attack had been repulsed. Johnson's uniform was shredded, his body bearing 21 separate wounds. The French commanders awarded both men the Croix de Guerre with gold palm, France's highest military honour. Their own country sent no commendation. The long road home. When the Hellfighters returned to New York in February 1919, they marched in a victory parade up Fifth Avenue before cheering crowds. The regimental band, led by Lieutenant James Reese Europe, played jazz tunes that had enchanted France. For one brief day, they were heroes. The celebration ended quickly. In the coming weeks, Johnson was denied treatment at white-only VA hospitals for his combat injuries. He would die penniless in 1929, buried in an unmarked grave. Lieutenant Europe was stabbed to death by a jealous bandmate months after revolutionizing American music. Many Hellfighters faced lynch mobs when they protested segregation. The US Army systematically erased their combat records, a measure of justice. In 1996, 78 years after his heroic stand, Henry Johnson finally received the Purple Heart. In 2015, President Obama awarded him the Medal of Honor. The citation read in part, "Private Johnson's extraordinary heroism and selflessness reflect great credit upon himself, his unit, and the United States Army." Today, the Hellfighters' story stands as both an inspiration and indictment, a testament to extraordinary courage in battle and the shameful betrayal that followed. They fought for freedoms abroad that they were denied at home, and in doing so forced America to confront its deepest contradictions. The Harlem Hellfighters fought for a country that didn't fight for them, but their courage couldn't be erased. Though America forgot their sacrifice, history remembers. Next part on Historical Stories: The Silent Guns, the Final Hours Before Armistice. The haunting true story of soldiers who kept killing, even after peace was declared. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. These untold stories deserve to be heard. The past is speaking. Will you listen? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.